Pesto isn't just basil and oil thrown together. There's actually a technique to getting it just right. I learned this during my Italian course in culinary school, and the Italian chef there was obsessed with getting the perfect texture. The first thing we're going to do is toast some pine nuts. I'm throwing them in a dry pan over medium heat while stirring constantly until they get golden, and you can start to smell them. This takes maybe 3 to 4 minutes. Pine nuts are expensive as hell, so really keep an eye on them as they toast, or they'll burn on you. I like to give the pan a shake every now and then to make sure they brown evenly. Once they're lightly brown like this, we're going to set them aside to cool. While those are cooling down, let's talk about the basil. Summer is coming to an end, so if you got a garden or you see some good basil at the store, this is the time to make pesto. I'm using about 2 cups of basil leaves here, and I like to remove the bigger stems from the leaves, but don't stress about getting every little one. Now we're going to add a 1/3 cup of our pine nuts we toasted from earlier. Follow that with 3 cloves of minced garlic and a cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. I'm using freshly grated Parmesan because the pre-grated stuff doesn't melt into the pesto the same way. I'm also adding a little bit of lemon juice and lemon zest in there too. That acid is going to help keep everything bright green and bring some balance. Throw in a small pinch of salt, but be careful because the parm is adding a good amount of salt to the pesto. Lastly, add a splash of olive oil. This is going to help things get going, and later on we'll add some more. Now here's where people go wrong. They start to throw everything into the food processor and blend it into a smoothie. But what happens is you get this green paste that tastes really bitter because the basil has been over-processed. So instead, we're going to pulse it at intervals to keep the basil from going bitter. Remember, we're pulsing this just until it's roughly chopped. We don't want a super smooth paste, instead we want to see some texture. Now comes the rest of the olive oil. I'm using a good olive oil because you're going to taste it in the finished pesto later on, but you don't need to buy the most expensive bottle in the store. I added a bit in the beginning to help combine their ingredients, and now we're going to pour in the rest. This is basically going to make an emulsion, which is going to help bind all our ingredients together. I'm stopping to scrape down the sides every now and then because you want everything to combine evenly. The goal here is to get everything to come together, but still have some texture. You should still see some little bits of basil and pine nuts here and there. That's what you want to see. This is what good pesto should look like. It's bright, it's got basil flavor but it's not bitter, and you got all these textures happening. I make a big batch like this when basil's in season, and I'll freeze it in ice cube trays. That way I can pop out a cube or 2 whenever I want to make some pesto pasta in the middle of winter. I also like to up it up a notch by adding some grilled chicken on top and finishing it with some more pesto and parm for a quick and delicious lunch or dinner. The thing about pesto is it's so much better when you make it yourself. That stuff at the store is alright, but this is what pesto should actually taste like. And now that you know the technique, you can mess around with it. Try different nuts, different herbs, or whatever you want. If you like today's recipe, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!